What's going on, beautiful people? I'll be putting the day above in the title, and today's been I'd say a rather good day. Went to 3 estimates already for the day, and it's 1 o'clock. That's good timing. That's good time management. Right now I'm on my way to go do not even a touch up. We basically bid on a metallic job, but the guy has moisture issues. He basically converted a garage into a living room, carpeted it down, and now he wanted to do an epoxy. Unbeknownst to us and him, unbeknownst to us, he concreted the drains inside of the garage, filled them with concrete, and once we put down a vapor barrier and a coating, it peeled. The coating failed. Went back, did it again, it failed again. So we seem to have a little bit of an issue there, so that's why I'm going over there. He core drilled out the area, and we're gonna be putting a coating there. We're gonna see how long it lasts, right? But that's just an update of what's going on today. When I get back, I have to, finish doing some paperwork. And that's what I want to talk about today is paperwork and business. That's so much of business. People associate it where, like, if you hear certain funny things where people talk in jargon, yeah, we're solving community issues, we're helping leadership, we're helping X, and I understand it's like they're talking in riddles of sorts. What I've seen in construction is when I say I want to resolve the customer experience. What I did was I went through a invoicing app that connected with the email provider, and it sent out welcome emails after they enrolled, which is good, right? So that is sometimes what business is. It's a job is a set of tasks, while a business is I'd say a group of systems. It is this is how I'm trying to organize it where it makes sense to me. It's a group of processes that allow you to do more, but it's initially it seems to be surface level, right? So while some people get caught up on getting the work, when you work on the business, you work on the systems that lead to the work. Some would say it's busy work, right? But for instance, what I was working on was paperwork, RFPs, requests for proposals, RFQs, requests for qualifications, and it's just all paperwork at the highest level. I'm deducting it to really simple terms, and it's all paperwork. At the beginning, you see if you're capable of doing the work, but at the highest level, if you want massive quantities of work, and I'd say even massive amounts of work, it's paperwork. It's you taking on a project that takes you a week, and you first started that project, a residential job, it was $2,000, right? Now you get another job, and that job now is going to give you, for that same time period, even the same amount of work, is doubles, 8. But then let's say you go to the next form of business and you say, okay, cool, I'm gonna be doing work for churches, and then you go specialized. Now, you go from 8 to 16. And I see it as there's so much work out there that it would almost be close to impossible, right, to fail. Putting this on. It'd be near impossible to fail. And I mean that. I mean that in the true essence of it. Is that there's so much work to go out there. You spend the time getting qualifications, and towards the end, it's just paperwork. Like we're submitting qualifications and paperwork for something called Avetta. It's a platform that, in essence, allows you to, you have to pay $2,500 for the qualification. After paying the $2,500 for that qualification, you now have to submit policies, SOPs, safety metrics, safety schemes, schematics. It's absolutely, it's crazy, to be honest with you. That all that work, all that work is needed, and you got to pay for it, but it unlocks bigger and bigger tiers of work, bigger buckets. So now you can go from making, I'd say, you go from making, $1 million to 5, or from 5 to 10, right? And it's all the same amount of work. You're just going after a bigger bucket, right? You're choosing to stay at a place instead of for a week, for a month. Basically, this is, basically, this is all that it is. It's truly that. And I think construction is a treadmill of sorts. If you choose not to grow, if you choose not to move forward, it's almost an easy way to get to a high-paying job, right? But even if the business has your name on it, you don't necessarily have a business. You may have a book of business. You may have a track record. And this thing may print. It may make you money. But I think at the highest level, when it comes down to the, when the rubber meets the road, is most people have jobs, and most businesses are jobs. High-paying jobs, but jobs nonetheless. And jobs that are either really hard to staff, jobs where you make enough to live a good life, but just shy of being able to pay someone to do all the work for you. So you never really get that time freedom back. And I think that's, not always missing from a business, but, a business is, you're going to 3 estimates, you think you're going to get to doing, you think you're going to be going back to doing some commercial bidding, and then the guys call off, and now you have to sub in for a guy and go finish that task. But then that amount of work that you didn't do, it wasn't completed by nobody. It still has to get done. So that's kind of, in my opinion, that's what business is. It's all these setbacks. It's all these, keeping things going, keeping the machine flowing, adding oil to a burning engine, adding coolant, when it's low, and a tire blowing out in the middle of your day, but you can't just go home. You have to fix your tire and go to the task. It's one of those things, and I think that's what I'm getting towards. Even in this in the epoxy business, people have these absorbent numbers. Yeah, you can make this, and if there is not a lot of people eating off that plate, you can make, I think, decent money. Where you can make, you can make, I'd say, 100, 150 off of like 500K. Maybe a little bit more, but once you want to make a business out of it, there's a price to pay. And like for instance, the company we're up 10% for the year at this point, which makes sense. But since we're up 10% for the year, we're seeing all these other holes. We're seeing the fact that since we're up 10% for the year, we have now higher labor. But our labor's, climbing to get into this point where it's out of control. We brought in the month of May. Yeah, in the month of May, we brought close to 93K, which would actually, in April was 83 actually. Yeah, which would actually be summer numbers in the sprint, which is huge. But we had, just about as equal amount come out of the account, which goes to show us that, paying an extra 8 man hours per job, across the board, adds too much fat to a payroll. So if your payroll goes, our payroll is, probably like supposed to be 6,500 a week, but sometimes it's close to 10 to 11. When you're closing in on that 11K a week in payroll, but let's say you brought in 15K, but your payroll's 11. Be it late payments or like payments coming in at different times, it still leads to the fact that you bring in 15, your payroll's 11, and even if but now you have to cover the spread, which is supposed to be a profit, but your payroll was 11K. So it's like you're supposed to be profiting how much off of that labor? But now you have to cover gas, cover product costs, credit card charges. You have to cover Home Depot runs. You now have to cover miscellaneous expenses now, on top of just the man hours and product costs out of that. So you start seeing you could almost say like a residue. So like it's a false positive. Like, I made this much. No, you made this much, but there are costs climbing, right? So that's one of those things that I've been seeing. It's a shared cost. So our shop and insurances and like our dumpster, we're around 11K per month, like steady bills. That's split between two companies, so it's more like 6, but that's 6K a month in just constant bills. Amex spending, closing in on 1 to 2K a week. Then you start adding random trips to the gas station. You start adding, people buying cigarettes. You start adding all these extra little miscellaneous things, and you're taken out of the game. You thought $20 over $20 Monday wasn't bad, but let's say you have $20 a day over 5 credit cards. That's $100 a day. Then you do that over a week. It's $500. But if you do that over a month, that's close to $2,000, $3,000. Imagine doing that for the year. That's someone's bonus, right? So like that's $3,000. 5 times 4 is $2,000. But then you do $2,000 times 12, and that's $24,000 a year. That's a bonus. That's That's someone's payroll. That's a lot of money. And that's the issue that happens fairly quickly when businesses have become chaotic. And it doesn't take much to put to throw a wrench in everything, and for a business to start running at red margins. You just throw one emergency job that doesn't get a down payment, and you're bleeding like that. Like, you're bleeding like that. You take one job that was a rush job, you didn't take payment. That job now has overtime, so you didn't plan it for overtime. So your guys, let's say they're making, let's say your guy's making $20 an hour. You double that, you're going $30 an hour over, let's say, 4 guys. So you're playing like every day. Let's say they had 10 hours overtime. That, like, you didn't account for the extra and 4 guys on the site. That's $1,200 in overtime that one day, right? And that'll take you out, because if you're paying an extra $1,000 a week, that's $4,000 a month. That's $4,800 a year, if not more, right? Just in these miscellaneous costs that will eat you alive. It's the difference between a good winter and a bad winter. It's the difference between being able to hire someone and you needing to hire yourself to work back in the business. Like, it is. Almost took the mailbox out. It truly is the difference. And yeah, like, you're like, yeah, we're, no issues. We're like, that's not gonna happen. The thing is, if you have, like, there are things like that take a business out of the groove every single week, and it's your job to kind of get it back on track. It's your job to find that hole. It's your job to take a look at that, look at the numbers, and fix those problems. Sometimes these are perpetual problems, so they never end. So it's like you're working on a ship that lost its rudders. You're working on a ship that doesn't even have a steering wheel. It's like, and you have sails, and it's like, well, it seems like this week we're going this way. Seems like this week we're going this way. And that's kind of like, in a nutshell, kind of what happens, in my opinion. Because every business, as they say, every business has crap, has poop. Every business has skeletons in the closet. Businesses in and of itself aren't bad until they're compared, unless there is a comparison. So most businesses are good. They are just bad in comparison. With that being said, I'm even though we're up, it's great numbers. Close to, we'll probably be returned back to our regular 1.2, if not more. And then, I'm taking on the second position for, as a COO or operations manager, chief operations officer, whatever. And I took on that, and I'm building out the standardized SOPs and other systems, and it's phenomenal. It's just, you go back to the same principle that people all run into. It's, you run into the idea, I don't have any time. But the truth is you never had time, right? Like, when you have the time, you don't have the opportunity. When you have the time, you it's just not prevalent. The opportunities are there when there's not a lot of time, but much needed money. The opportunity is in figuring it out when you don't have the time. The opportunity is in staying up when you want to be sleeping with your wife. The opportunity is in going to bed late and waking up at 4 a.m. Your eyes are burning. You can't even make sense of what's on the screen. And then work starts. And that's where the opportunity's at sometimes. Like, it's not even unfortunate. It's just like, for a really long time, the tables will be you're overworked and underpaid until you're underworked and overpaid. The tables will turn one day, but it's like, it's like, as my buddy would tell me, and I love the philosophy, he would say, man, like, and I would always see him as being lucky, right? So, he never said it, but it's something I've realized, and it was, in order to be lucky, you have to be on the field. You can't be on the, you got to be on the field like you can't be in the stands. And I think in life, we live our lives as if we're in the stands when we're actually, when it's actually our time to take the field. Like, and that's the issue. I think we live in this world where, we get we get psyched out. We're like, wow, life sucks. I'm gonna go take a breather. But you were supposed to take a seat on the bench, and you walked over to the stands, and then you started observing other people's lives and saying, man, that person's so lucky. But you're looking at another ball game while your game is going on. And there's no other DH. There's no other substitute. So if I could make a point, and the point would be, I found out that the only way in which I got lucky in this life, it was by, like, throwing stuff at the wall. It was by experiment after experiment. Hey, we're gonna try if this works. Hey, we're gonna see if that works. Hey, we're gonna see if that works. And man, like, it like, to some people it works out, like, it's great, but to me it just wasn't great. Like, it wasn't like, and that's not bad, it's just like, it was what it was. And I can't wait for the day to be able to and can't wait for the day to and I've been right, but timing was off, right? So you could have the right motive, the right product, wrong time. Right time, wrong product. No product, no idea, no direction, right? So it's these things that, like, man, like, in order to get lucky in this world, in order to get the freaking car that you're dreaming of, in order to get that house, in order to get that business, in order to get that income, it's on the other side of, like, doing things that you're uncomfortable with. It's on the other side of, hey, I think this will work. I'm gonna do this. Like, and I'm talking about me. I'm not, like, talking about you, right? I'm talking about my experience. Like, my experience has been, hey, like, my buddy's really good at trading. He's like, hey, man, if we pull together 10K, we put this in a bot, we could potentially make this work for an expert advisor. Cool. It worked until it didn't. Hey, I want to build a moving company. Okay, let's try it. I did it for a month and a half. With people, had money come in. Said, that's I think we're in the wrong business model, and I don't think this is a sound business. I don't like the people we're doing this for. Put that off, right? I had a brief stint in trying to see if advertising would work. Did I do it on a big enough market size? Probably not. But, like, next thing, like, I'm gonna keep trying. Even if it doesn't make me money, I have to continue trying something until I find it. But at the same time, I'm doing now what I've always done, which is epoxy and polished concrete. I'm doing now what I'm good at. So, with that being said, hopefully you got some out of this, and you could take a little bit of you could take a page out of my book and maybe not have to go through that same deal. But see you tomorrow. Bye.